What's cracking, everybody? Hope y'all are well out there. Today we're gonna look at the 5 things that I would recommend someone buy if they're interested in brewing coffee at home and wanna learn how coffee works. People ask me all the time about what coffee brewing stuff I should buy. There's a ton of stuff on the market at a bunch of different price ranges. So I narrowed it down to 5 things that I would recommend to someone who's new to home coffee brewing. To make the list, these things had to be reasonably affordable, especially within their own class. I had to have enough experience with them to know that they would last and not crap out after a month or two. And they generally needed to be easy to use. It might not be the newest stuff. It might not be the most popular stuff on Instagram, but it's the stuff that'll teach you the coffee brewing basics without making you poor. So with those things out of the way, let's get into the kit. First up is the brewer, and for that, I recommend the Clever Dripper. Clever Dripper is great for a number of reasons. Number one, it's cheap. You can get these things for about 20 bucks. Second thing I like about the Clever Dripper is you can use a couple different filtration options with it. So you can use it with a standard paper filter, or you can throw a gold cone filter in there if you want coffee with a little bit more body and a little bit more grit to it. One of the biggest reasons the Clever Drippers in this lineup is that you can use it to brew a couple different styles of coffee. You can use it with the stopper as intended, and it's a full immersion brewer. Full immersion is nice because it's really easy to control. You almost always get even extraction. It's just very simple and easy to learn. But let's say you get the hang of the full immersion thing. You want to try something a little bit different. If you just place this brewer on the cup and bypass the stopper, it magically turns into a pour over brewer. So you basically get 2 brewers in one for 20 bucks. I'm down. The second piece of the kit is the scale, and for that I've gone with my old standby, which is the Escala Primo digital scale. Now, it's not the sexiest scale, but it's only about 25 bucks and it lasts forever. I've had this one for as long as I can remember. I drop it, kick it, throw it out the window, do whatever, and it just keeps on going. It has no functionality other than basic weight stuff, but that's really all you need. To be clear, I'm not saying that this is the best scale for brewing coffee. It's just the one I would pick if I was starting out and I didn't want to spend a ton of money. Yes, you could go get an Acaia scale. It has much more functionality. The resolution's higher, but you're spending $100 on a scale. That's what we use in the cafe, and for that, it's really perfect, but you just don't need it to get going at home. We do, as a side note, use these in the roastery for weighing out coffee when we need to. We have a whole fleet of them in all kinds of crazy, weird colors. So if you want a nice little pink scale, you can totally do that. The third piece of the kit is the kettle, and my recommendation for a kettle is the Bonavita electric kettle. Now you can get these for around 40 bucks, and just like the scale, they're really basic, but they work. The spout is really good. It's easy to control for someone who's never used a pouring kettle before. And although some people really like stovetop kettle, I prefer the electric kettle because I never have to remember to turn the stove off. I just flick it on. It's just easier for me for whatever reason. Just believe me. This isn't the fancy Bonavita where you can choose your temperature and it'll maintain that temperature and bring it up to 204. You really don't need that, you really don't. I've used them before, they're fine, but for the extra money, I almost never use the added extra functionality. I just bring the coffee to a boil, and when I hear that rumbling sound start to disappear, I start brewing, and I'm basically in the zone. The next piece in the kit is the grinder, and it's the most expensive thing, and there's a reason for that. And with that, I went with the Bertha Encore. Now at $140, this is by far and away the most expensive piece of this kit, and it's not even near what I would consider cheap. However, it is pretty cheap for its class, which is a really well-built, highly adjustable Burr Grinder. Now there's this really big gap between whirly blade grinders, which you can get for around 20 bucks, and something like the Bertha Encore, which costs $140. The reason is that I haven't seen anything in that $50 to $60 range that I can actually stand behind. A grinder's job is basically to produce a consistent particle size or a consistent particle spread. Now, there's a number of reasons this is important, but in the world of home coffee brewing, we really want to be wary of variable elimination. That is, we want to control as many factors as we can. If we're doing something like a pour over where we're manually pouring over the water, we want to pour at a consistent speed, a consistent flow rate, a consistent pattern, and then if we have an extraction discrepancy, we can say, okay, I need to adjust my grind to get what I want. Now, if you have a grinder that doesn't produce a consistent particle size and you're getting weird feedback from your coffee, you could spend your whole coffee brewing life chasing your tail around and around and around, not really understand what's going on, never getting really good coffee, and the grinder is the culprit. So that's why at a base level of $140, the the Baratza Encore is the cheapest grinder that I can actually recommend. There are other grinders in this price range that are increasing in popularity. James Hoffman did a review of the Wilfa, which he seemed to like. I'll put a link to that down below. They're really hard to come by in the US. I actually haven't seen them in our market yet, so I'm gonna stick with the Baratza. So I've got a brewer, a kettle, a scale, and a grinder. And the last piece of the kit is really important, but people don't really talk about it that much. You need it, and it's a notebook. YouTube is great, tutorials are great, scripted recipes are great, but my dream is a world where people understand what's going on when they're brewing coffee and can create coffee that they really love to drink and not someone else's version of perfect coffee. And to do that, you need to take notes on what you're doing and what you taste when you're doing what. Is that a crazy sentence? So I know recommending a notebook as part of the kit could seem like a cop-out, so I'll go one step further and tell you how I'd recommend using the notebook. If you're brand new to coffee brewing, I would take a recipe from somewhere. Use one of mine, get one from one of your local coffee roasters, whatever. Brew some coffee, take some notes on what you taste, but take some notes on the experience as well. So if you're brewing a pour over and this is new to you, it might be something like, using Kettle felt a little awkward. Notice that my water was kind of all over the place. Over time, these notes will become an anchor that will allow you to explore with some sort of safe home base. Once you do start to explore, I would recommend only changing one variable at a time. Committing to changing one variable at a time will really help you understand the coffee brewing process a lot better, and it'll actually help you get to that end result of taste magic that you want a lot faster. For example, if you're brewing coffee and you're not really getting what you want and you change your grind adjustment and your brew ratio at the same time, you don't really know how much of each one is contributing to the overall change that you felt in taste. Experienced in taste? Taste. So some notes and a little bit of restraint will help you really understand what's going down. Hope this was useful for everybody. I'm a really big fan of getting value and amassing some skill before you blow all of your budget on gear. So these are the 5 things that I recommend that'll get you started at a reasonable budget. And then in 6 months or a year, if you decide you want to spend 120 bucks on a kettle and buy some brewing devices that are hundreds and hundreds of dollars, I'd say go for it. I'll put links to everything down below, but if you have a local coffee shop that you want to show love to that carries this stuff, I recommend buying from them. And with that, stay dialed, and I will catch you on the flip side.